Hi everyone, my name is Omid. I'm here with you from Centroid to present you the SC300P, the scientific olfactometer. So this scientific olfactometer is a device where it has 4 inputs of odors, and it combines these odors and it delivers it to the panelist for testing. So what I have here to my left side is the main instrument. So this instrument houses all the valves necessary to combine the odors, dilute them, and deliver them to the panelist for testing. And here you can see the main computer. So this is where the administrator will sit and administers all the tests. And over here you can see the monitor and the panelist station where the panelist will sit and smell through the sniffing port and look at the screen for the stimuli being presented. So overall, this system uses a cleaner supplied by a compressor and odor sources that are present in this bag to the device. So now we're going to go over all the items that you're required to have to set everything up and get it running. So first thing that you should look at is the main device. So this is the SC300P instrument. And you should also have the computer here set up, the panelist station over here, and also the compressor. So aside from the main units, you also need few accessories to set up the devices. So first thing to check is the sniffing ports. You would have 3 of them here available. So right now you can see there's 2 of them here and 1 already set up on the panelist station. They'll be installed on top of this unit, which I'm going to go through later. So the next thing here is the odor input module. So here you have 4 channels, which the odors will be inputted to the system. So this connects to the system via a tube as well as a connector. So the next thing is you need to have some sources of odor. So here I have with me 2 sources of odor in these PTFE bags. And they have a fitting on top that will be connected to these odor input module that I will do shortly. So the next thing you should set up here is the main computer. So this computer is responsible for controlling this device as well as showing the stimuli to the panelist over here. So now that we're going to set up the whole instruments, the first thing to do is to set up the air compressor, which you can see here in this shot. And this is a compressor which is housed in a soundproof box, which can be placed near the unit without much interruption. So I'm going to go through how to set this up properly. So the first step is to check that the wire is not damaged and the wire needs to be plugged in. The first thing you see over here is the auto drain valve, if ever you need to be draining. The next thing is the drain valve as well. So the drainage will come out of here. There's a manual valve. You're not going to be using this normally. This is going to be part of a maintenance operation. What we're going to be using for our instrument though is this air connection over here. So we're going to be connecting our tubing over here. So with me here, I have a carbon filter, which will be plugged into the unit to remove all the odors that may be present in this compressor. So I'm going to use the short end of the tube. I'm going to connect this to the push-to-connect connector. I'm just going to insert it and ensure that it's a secure connection. You can pull on it to test the connection. Next thing is you will insert the connector here and you pull on this. You insert and you let go and you hear that click. To ensure that it's installed properly, you can pull on it to test that it's secure. Now the other end of this tube will be connected directly to the SC300P. Here we're looking at the main panel of the compressor. Here where you're going to set up the compressor before you can turn it on. So first and foremost thing, you can see over here we have the pressure regulator valve. First thing to do is to set this to 0 pressure. I'm going to do that by pulling this slightly so it's unlocked. I'm going to turn it counterclockwise until the pressure reading over here is 0. You need to do this step before connecting any lines to the compressor. So after I've done that, I'm going to look at this screen which shows the pressure inside the tank on the compressor. So currently there is about 110 psi of air pressure inside the compressor. Next thing you need to do is to, after you plug in the device, is to turn on the instrument. So the instrument after first time of turning on will take a couple of minutes to fill up to the specified pressure. After which, we'll set this up after connecting this to the SC300. So now that we have all the tubing set up and our compressor is filled with air, it's time to turn on the regulator valve to provide pressure to the SC300. I'm going to be doing so by slowly turning this clockwise. As you do turn it, you can see the pressure gauge is rising. You would want to increase the pressure until the pressure reaches 85 psi. And that's about there. And to lock this in place and make sure it's not changed inadvertently, we just press this in to lock it in place. We'll take the tubing from the compressor and we'll just insert it in the air in supply here, shown here at 80 psi. So you insert the tube and you insert it. So this is a push to connect fitting, and it'll be connected securely. So next thing to do is to connect the odor module's tubing to the SC300. To do that, in your accessory box, you locate this connector. So here we have a compression fitting and a push to connect fitting. I'm going to connect the compression fitting to this odor module port over here. I'm going to first hand tighten this. I'm going to be using an adjustable wrench just to tighten this a little further. Make sure to do not over tighten these screws. So I'm going to take my tubing from the odor module. I'm going to push it to this connector until it's connected. Alright, so the next connector here is the EEG 5-volt signal connector. So with your EEG machine, the signal will be coming out of this port, and you will have to be wiring this to your specific EEG machine to get the signals. So the signals that will come out of here is the odor selection, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and also the odor presentation signal. Next thing to do is to install the sniffing port funnels that are provided with your unit. You will have 3 of them, and there's going to be 3 ports A, B, and C that will deliver the odors as per administrator selection. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the funnel, and you can see the bottom side is threaded. I'm going to just be threading it in the ports. It's enough to hand tighten this. There's no need for tools. I'm going to take the other one and install it on port C. I'm going to be installing another one on our tripod here for our panelist presentation. So next here I'm going to be installing the 3rd sniffing port. So here I have a tripod set up, and I've connected this sniffing port to this tubing, which I'm going to be later on connecting to port B of the SC300. So I'm going to place the sniffing port here. The panelist will be sniffing through this port. I'm going to connect the other end of the tubing, which is a compression fitting, to port B on the SC300. All right, now that we have connected the odor module and the sniffing port to the SC300P, we're now going to go connect the Ethernet connection from the device to the computer. So I'm going to take the Ethernet wire. I'm going to take one end and insert it over here. I'm going to take the other end, insert it to the Ethernet port of the computer. Okay, next we're going to connect the power cable to the SC300P. I'm going to grab the 3-prong power connector and make sure the switch is off position. And I'm going to insert it over here. And now we have connected all the connections to the SC300P. We're going to go ahead and start up the system. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the device, and I'm going to turn on the device by switching this power switch. You should be hearing the cooling fan turn on and the screens starting up. Now that the SC300P is turned on, we're going to go ahead and turn on the computer and connect it with the software provided to the device. And shortly after, the administrator screen should show up, as you can see on the screen. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to follow these steps provided on the screen. I'm going to click Load Parameters to load all the variables into my workspace. And after that's done, I'm going to go ahead on the instrument and click on Initiate Connection. So as you can see, the awaiting client request light has turned green, meaning that we're waiting for the computer to connect. So I'm going to go back to the computer and then enter the correct IP and the port number, and then click connect. Once the connection status turns green, that means the MATLAB is now able to communicate with the device. And if you can see on the device, the light has changed to connection active. Now to enable receiving data packets to the device, I'm going to click on enable receive. And now it is highlighted, and the whole system is now set up for operation. All right, now that we have set up the software, we're going to go ahead and connect the source of order to our order module. And we're going to do that using the provided tube with us. And here with me, I have two sources of order. So this is the order of spearmint. So I'm going to connect it to this tube over here. And the other end, I'm just going to screw it into channel A. I'm going to take the other tube and connect it to port B. So these ports are labeled A, B, C, D. You may choose whichever, and then you can connect it to the device and give order from there. So these bags have a fitting over here, and I'm going to open the fitting. I'm going to insert the tube over here, and it will be staying over here. And then, so the whole device will suck odor from this bag, and it will dilute it with the specified dilution, and it will present it to the panelist. All right, so first thing we're going to do is to check to ensure that everything has been connected. So as you can see, green light, that means it's okay. So we're going to move on to step 3 and then adjust the needle valves to make sure the consistent airflow is coming out of the ports A and B. So first thing is we select the valve number. So currently valve number 1 is selected, and we're going to put our desired flow of 20 liters per minute. So port B will output the needle valve, and port A will be the set flow rate as a reference. So once I click air, the air will start flowing through ports A and B. And then I'm going to go over the instrument. I'm going to use my flow meter here, and then to adjust the needle valve 1 to ensure the flows are matched. So you can hear the hissing noise. That indicates the air is flowing out of the sniffing ports. So I'm going to take my flow meter and then place it on port A. And it's reading about value of 1. And then I'm going to go to port B, which is currently connected to the panelist station. And it's reading about 0.5. So I'm going to go back to the device and turn the needle valve 1 counterclockwise slightly to increase the flow rate through port B. Let's confirm. Now the flow rate is at 1 as well, so it's matching port A. And we have correctly set up the needle valve 1. All right, after we adjusted our valve 1, we're going to change this number to valve 2. And we're going to repeat the same procedure and setting up the airflow of the other needle valve. So after we are done setting up the both needle valves, we're going to come here and stop the airflow by pressing this air button. So the next step is to clean all the dilution lines. So depending on the previous use of the device, some odors may be present inside the device. And to clean them up, you will use this function in step 4 called clean dilution lines. So I'm going to increase the duration to 10 seconds, and then I'm going to click on purge. And now you may hear sounds from the device, and that the device is currently cleaning the air supply lines with the specific algorithm in place. So after the purging is done, the button will be active again. And the next thing we should do is to clean the sniffing ports. So I'm going to set the duration to 10 seconds again. You may use a longer duration if you find that the sniffing ports contain smells. And the longer duration will help clear the sniffing ports better. So I'm going to click on purge. Okay, now the purge has been completed. So now the next step is to set up the dilution lines with the odors that we just connected to the odor module. So the odor needs to travel through the tubing and through the device to be at the ports ready to be administered. Therefore, that takes some dilution line priming as shown here. So we're gonna select our odor source. In this case, we have A and B. So I'm gonna start with A and then click on prime with odor. And what the system is doing now is actually taking the odor and then it's vacuuming it through the lines and the valves and making sure the odor is present in the system as well. Now this process usually takes about 5 to 10 seconds. I'm going to repeat the same thing with odor B and any other odors that I have connected to the odor module. Okay, so after this step 6, all the initialization has been done, and we are now ready to use the instruments. So the software here consists of 4 main panels. So the initial setup is where we were right now. And the next panel is the control panel, where you can see the status of all the valves, as well as the master controller flows, as well as the option here to administer singular odor to the panelist. So this is an interactive display, and if you click on this, you can control each valves, open them and close them. If you click the update button, all the statuses of the valves will be updated. And you can reset all the valves over here that turn everything off. There are some testing protocols here for troubleshooting purposes. But what I'm going to now do is actually present to you how you can administer an odor to the panelist. So first thing, we're going to work from left to right side. So first item here is the airflow. And that's in standard liters per minute. So typically we use 20 liters per minute, so that's where I'm put here. Next thing, I'm going to select my odor source. So as you saw earlier, we connected 2 sources of odor to channel A and B. So I would like to use odor E, so I'm going to select B. And here you can see on a slider and a numerical field where you can actually enter the amount of dilution. So this dilution number is basically how many times the odor is being diluted before it's been administered to the panelist. So dilution of 1 means that the odor is directly presented to the panelist, but the minimum we can do with this device is 7. So the higher the number of dilution it is, the weaker the odor will be presented to the panelist. So that really depends on what concentration odor you have connected to the device. And this is something that can be set up before the testing begins. So for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to put it to value of 100. And I would like the odor to come out of port B, which is currently connected to the panelist station. Now that I'm ready to present the odor, I can click this present odor button. Now, as soon as you hear the air flowing, now the odor with the dilution is being presented to the panelist on the port. And to stop the dilution and the presentation, we'll click this button again, and the presentation will stop. Please note that while this is active, you may not change the output port, but you may change the odor source. So as soon as I click port A, and you hear the click sound, that's where exactly the odor has been switched from port B to port A. Now the odor source A is being administered. So during normal use, you would not be really using this top panel over here. This is only for manual override or manual use. So you will mainly be using this button panel for odor administration. So the next tab over here is a program tab. So here where we can actually program a sequence of steps or odor presentations, and it can run sequentially with the specified delay and duration to the panelist. So the way this works is first thing we do is the open user panel. So this opens the secondary panel that is displayed to the user on the monitor. So this display is used to show videos, pictures, and audio to the user. So next thing we're going to do, you can see here there is program files that I've already built as a CSV file. So I'm going to click load, and then load program file with no media to the system. And then you can see that the table over here is populated with the program that I've written previously. So for example, step 1 here is a strong mango smell, and the flow rate is set to 20 liters per minute. The odor source is A, which is corresponding to the bag that I connected. The dilution is 25 times. the media to be presented to the panelist is shown here. I have to select this manually. So I'm gonna open the drop down and select mango image. And then there's this delay specified over here. So what this delay is basically, as soon as the order is selected and being administered, it takes some time for the order to reach the nose of the panelist. So after 2.5 seconds, the image will be displayed on the screen. You may choose to put the 0 or longer depending on the order concentration that you're using. Using this activate button, I can just present the order just like I could do in the control panel. And you can see now on the administrator screen, the image is shown to you as well as to the user on the other side. So if I want to stop this, I will just click activate again, and the image will stop as well as the order presentation. Now you can see there are different programs, or steps rather, put here. And I can enable all of them over here or some of them. So I'm going to select the first 3, and then I can click run sequence. So what this does is basically goes through each of these steps automatically with this specified duration. So each of the steps will be 10 seconds. I can choose different photos to be presented. All right, so one more thing to ensure is that the output port over here should be selected corresponding to what order is being sent to the panelist. So in our application now, port B is selected. The other option you have here is actually you can log all the activities that you do on this screen to a log file. So you can do that by entering a log file name. So it's gonna call that test log. Make sure there is no extension put in here. And then you can enter the subject ID here. So I'm just gonna put 123 for this purpose. So as soon as I click record, a new file is generated in the same directory. And the status will say saving to file. So now if I start a step, stop, start again, and stop, or if I run the sequence, or if I do other things, all of these steps will be recorded to the file. And once I'm done with the test, I can click the recording button again, and the recording will stop, and all the information will be timestamped and saved to the CSV file. Now, on the fourth tab, if you go here, this is also for troubleshooting purposes. You can see an overview of the system's connection and all the valves. So here, there's buttons here that you can click, and they would open the individual valves that you select. Again, this is used for troubleshooting purposes, and we may use this for remote support as well. Okay, now that we have set up the system successfully, we're going to have our panelists to come in, and then we're going to perform an order administration test. Okay, now that we have the software set up, ready for administration, I'm going to ask my administrator here, Victoria, to come in. Hi, Victor. Would you please go and take a seat at your station? Thanks. Okay, so what we're going to do now is go run through one sequence of tests. So I have my 3 steps selected over here. So I'm going to be using order A, B, and then B with a different dilution. So once the test sequence setup is completed, I'm going to click on run sequence, and the panelists will sniff through the test, and then we'll look at the screen. Now the order is being presented, and the panelist is sniffing through the port B, and a picture of a mango is being displayed, as well as the order being presented through the port. And the order has been switched now to cherry, and a photo of cherry is now being presented, as well as its order with dilution of 30. And next, the same photo is being presented, but now the order is weaker with dilution of 40, and the time remaining is also displayed for the administrator over here. So during a typical administration, the panelist will be wearing an EEG hat with all the stimuli and the signals being recorded simultaneously for later analysis. This concludes our SC300P presentation. I would like to thank our panelists today, Victoria, for being with us. And if you have any questions, please email us at info@centroid.com.
Or you can visit us at our website at www.centroid.com.
And thank you for being with us today. My name is Omid from Centroid, and have a great day.